Very excited to have John Hutson, ERA master member,
John.
Founding father, like you name it, from MacInnis Company, MacInnis Company of the Northeast. And John, it's an honor to have you here.
Yeah, thanks, John.
Excited to be talking to you here today. So, so let's get started. Tell us a little bit more about MacInnis.
Yeah. Well, I am a manufacturer's rep up in the Northeast. A manufacturer's rep of electronic components. That's kind of a big word, isn't it? Electronic components. In particular, I kind of specialize in passive electromechanical type products, sensors and switches, interconnect, cable. That's really the core. That's the segment within electronic components that we specialize
And you guys have a lot of people and have been growing quite a bit too. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. We've been growing. I don't know if it's proactionary, reactionary, or combination of both, but opportunities presented itself to make some mergers and acquisitions, and that certainly contributed to it. And we grew organically as well. And I think it's also trying to keep up with the change, John. The dynamics are changing. And I think you got to make sure you have the right staff to service within those dynamics. The territory's changing as geographically it grew. We originally started as a two-person rep firm up in New England. Ron and Norm MacInnis, they founded the company back in '81, and we grew from there. That's how I got involved. I got recruited to be the Connecticut salesperson, and I became part of their succession plan. And I became part of other succession plans as well. We made some acquisitions over time. We bought a company down in the Chesapeake Metro Mid-Atlantic territory, and that grew us, and merged with a company in upstate New York, and that grew us even more. And that's how we got to where we are today.
Nice. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, and I think it's also a lot of calories that you've spent, right? Like in following things up and following things through. How do you go about doing those things? Like you wake up, you're a high energy guy. And how do you harness that energy for good?
Yeah, it is high energy. Boy, it's a high energy business. I didn't realize that when I got into it. It was like, wow, it really helps to be high energy. And I think, high energy when you're young, you have the energy. I think high energy as you mature, maybe you don't physically have the energy, but I tell it a lot to my team. I call it fire in the belly. It's really passion. So maybe you don't get out of bed quite as quick as you used to, but you still have the passion, that fire in your belly. You like what you're doing. It's exciting. What we do in sales, especially as the manufacturer's rep in particular, it's always changing and adapting. But it is kind of like hunting, every day there's another thing you can go out there and try to hunt for, And that's sales, I guess, at the end of the day.
And one of the things you mentioned is how it's changed quite a bit from the time you got started until now, and how you've had to reorient your company to make sure you've got the right roles and the right capabilities for your manufacturers and for your customers. What does that look like?
Well, I had a real tremendous experience over the last 10 years. It was always changing, even when I got in early. The way we do business changes, how you engage your customer, and that's ever important. If you're not getting in front of your customer, if you're not developing that audience, you're going to struggle. Because that's what our clients, our principals, the manufacturers who design and make the product that they pay us to sell. They're our clients, and they have expectations, and we must fulfill them. And probably the biggest expectation is we're going to protect our business, and we're going to grow our business. And in order to do that, you got to be in front of the customer. So the way to get in front of the customer has certainly changed. I do believe it's more challenging now, but for those who excel at it, for those who have the skill sets, or those who can even adapt and redefine their skill sets in order to get in front of the customer, they can succeed more in this business, I believe, than really ever before. So a lot of changes. The one thing over the last 10 years that I personally got deeply, deeply involved with, and I feel that's probably why I'm here today, is my CRM. What we originally did, and I think I'm a typical reflection of your typical manufacturer's rep. What you used your CRM for 15, 20 years ago versus what hopefully you're using it for today is dynamically different. Yeah. So that was probably, out of all the things I had to do to adapt in order to try to excel in my business. The CRM was a major, major one, if not the top one.
Yeah. Well, and I think you're just my experience in talking with you, you're sort of a begrudgingly technologist oriented person. For example, you lead the ERA, Electronic Rep Association's technology breakouts at the ERA conferences and so on, where he's collating a lot of the latest tools and tech that are out there and basically sharing that with the industry. And so he's a great guy to sort of talk about, sort of your thoughts on CRM and operational excellence and where you think the future might lie as well.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. My background isn't technology at all. I got into this business through a kind of history and political science and everything. And I actually
I thought it was pro golfer.
Nah, I wish. No, that's in my dreams.
Okay. Sorry, got it.
No, but I kind of coming right out of school and everything, I thought the engineer was the guy who drove the train. I really had very, very little exposure but I got exposed. I ended up finding the only job I could find was a job working for a company that made printed circuit boards in Connecticut. And then that kind of parlayed itself into they used manufacturers reps. The reps would come in and out, and I'd say, wow, I'm really intrigued by what they do. So I ended up finding MacInnis Company, and that was 35 years ago. So,
oh, wow.
But I'm really not a big techie guy. Just I like to challenge. I like to challenge myself. So if I'm not comfortable with something, I'm okay trying to embrace it and learning by failure. And out of all the things, kind of when I assumed responsibility of managing the organization, the CRM was one of those things that I did a quick dive into the deep end and learned to swim quickly. And I'm really, really glad I did. For people out there that I really think your CRM, if you're a leader in your organization, you really need to lead by example in many, many ways.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Learning your CRM versus just kicking it down and giving it to an admin level type person or something is a big mistake, and it's going to perpetuate itself for a long, long time unless you jump into that deep end of the pool and you learn to swim and you learn to embrace it and you learn the terminology. Because this day and age, you really should have a strategy for your business that includes multiple facets. And one of those facets really should be how you're integrating your CRM into how you run your business day in and day out. And through that, what the byproduct is, what you can hand over to maybe your customer. But for us, really, the customer is our client, our principal, the manufacturer, the people who pay us.
Yeah. Hey, John, just a quick question going back to that, though. That leading by example, is that one of your main tips and tricks for adoption, or are there other things you do around adoption to make sure your people are actually utilizing the system? Yeah,
I would say learn by or teach by example would be a really, really good example. My experience has been if you ask people to do something that you don't know how to do yourself, it doesn't come with the credibility and the respect that if they're struggling and they know that you struggled at one time prior, it goes a long, long way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What we've done
Fighting
as well.
The same foxhole, right?
Exactly. Isn't that true? That's a great place to develop camaraderie. I think another trick is I don't know if it's really a trick, but support it. Once you embrace it, you learn it. Once you learn it, you really support it, and you support it through staffing. We look at the outside good salespeople. They don't like doing reports. It's been around as long as the chisel
expense reports,
or even exactly. So if you can, our structure is to try to encourage the outside salesperson to try to be in front of the customer as much as possible. So we've made the investments over years and years and years now of a support staff as well. It can't be a crutch. It's not what they use to do their report because they must have familiarity with it. But if they don't have the time and you don't want them not in front of the customer, you don't want them getting a sense that they're drowning, they're failing. There is a support staff as well to back up. And by the way, I'm a key member of that support staff. They call me often and say, I need this update. Can you help me here?
When I think one of the things that's been difficult, especially in the electronics market, is manufacturers who are now asking you to fill out their CRM systems, and how essential is that? How essential is the support staff to make sure that that's happening well? And how do you guys handle that kind of effort?
Well, as you know, that's client by client, principle by principle. Some people really demand it, and some people pay well for that expectation. They recognize that. And as long as we can all continue to be profitable and you can reinvest in certain areas to support that task, I have a number of manufacturers that I do that for now.
Yeah, and that they're willing to pay for it, right?
They're willing to pay for it. Yeah, either in the gross commissions because of just or even in maybe some type of a stipend or a fee or a commission rate. So the one thing that I've been surprised by lately is I encourage, once you get to know the CRM and once you have a strategy behind it, don't be bashful to go back to your manufacturer and ask for things. I've been successful, and this is somewhat recently, maybe over the past 3 years, of saying, if you could give me this information, it would be very helpful because I could do this, this, and this. And they got me the information. A great example is I'm really trying to make as effectively as possible the ability to analyze at the product line category, not the part number category, because the part number category is just overwhelming. So if we can, too much detail, and your analytics just break down, you get lost in translation. But I've gone back to large manufacturers and small manufacturers, and I said, geez, can we streamline this? And I brought it to their attention, and they saw value in it, even internally. They said, we haven't looked at these are manufacturing codes for them. They haven't looked at this in 30 years. And they said, geez, I really like what you're doing. And one of my manufacturers standardized it internally, and 4 others gave me the information willingly. So now I can do my analytics at a much more effective and efficient level. And the ROI is tremendous. And all I had to ask the question. That's all I had to do.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, and I think that product category level is probably beneficial to your distributor partners as well, right? Maybe you can talk a little bit about that, or even with customers.
Sure. Yeah. The and the manufacturer, because the CRM has been very, very helpful in my ability. The secret of one of the success secrets of a manufacturer's rep is the ability to multiple line sell. We can go in there with a bag of multiple tricks, and sometimes, more often, I would hope, if when done correctly, the customer sees value in that, because the time that you have, and it's often very limited in front of the customer, if you can offer multiple solutions because you have a big bag of tricks, that's valued time. And so if you can use your CRM to try to identify areas where you can fill that proverbial white space, where you can sell more product where you're not selling now, it's almost impossible at the part number level, but at the product line it is. And so if you can do that, if you can do it for your team to help them sell more at their existing customer base, that flows right over very, very smoothly to the distribution level, John. Right. So if you can go into a QBR and you can help your distributors better identify demand that you can go create jointly, and you can do it because you're analyzing data at a level that your CRM, when constructed properly, can provide you with, you're more valuable to your customer, you're more valuable to your distributor, you're more valuable to your manufacturer, and it should increase your revenue.
Yeah. Absolutely. You sell the light bulb, you should sell the lamp too.
That's why not?
Lampshade,
Hey, John, I know what QBR stands for, but I don't think John Mitchell does. Could you just tell him what that stands for?
Yeah. John doesn't know much. I forgot my audience. Apologies.
Yeah. Please.
No, a QBR is a quarterly business review. It'd be a quarterly, monthly, but more often than not, we go in on a consistent basis with our distributors, and we talk about the business. We look at where things are down, things are up, what trends might be taking place, and the more informed you are, the better that time together with the distributor is going to be.
Absolutely. And then I'm assuming you also have business reviews with your manufacturer clients. So tell us how you utilize the CRM to prepare for those or to attract new lines.
Yeah, I keep saying CRM because at the end of the day, that's where that's the bank That's the vault. But a great advancement in our CRM was Power BI.
Yeah.
So the ability that Power BI, a layman like me can create my own dashboard and with great visuals that slice and dice numbers, that data points right to where you want it to be. We have to go through reviews regularly, but I actually have some principles that appreciate so much the Power BI report that I did for them that they don't need to have reviews as frequently because I
Oh,
just monthly give them a dashboard that was based off of the Power BI.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
Hey,
and some of the biggest manufacturers have that, but a lot of the smaller ones probably don't. So that's probably very insightful for them. Yeah.
so first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. It's been awesome and insightful. And then, but I also want to ask, if people want to hear more about you or learn more about MacInnis, like where could they go? Is it a website or a LinkedIn page or?
Yeah, sure. John Hutson. Don't spell it wrong. It's not like the river. It's Hutson. And please, that's my digital Rolodex for those who know what a Rolodex is. Please add me, follow me at LinkedIn. That's terrific. And I do have multiple web pages because I have one for each one of my branches. But MacInnis, MacInnis group.com is the main landing page.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you again, John, so much for your time.
Awesome,
We
John.
really appreciate you carving out for us.
Pleasure's mine. Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.